This is the RedRock TCX Front Bumper, and it's available for all 2019 to 24 Ram 1500s, excluding the Rebel and TRX models. Now, you guys should be checking out the RedRock for your truck if you'd like to go with a very affordable off-road inspired bumper that will deliver things like better approach angle, burly steel construction, spots for auxiliary lighting, and a very cool Baja inspired look, all for right around that low to mid $600 price point. All right, getting into our features block here with this affordable RedRock bumper, and there are a few different things to talk about. Now, first and foremost, I just personally really dig the look of the RedRock TCX. The angular steel build results in a very aggressive yet not overstated approach that I think will be appealing to a lot of truck owners. But appearance aside, there's also a ton of functionality going on here, starting with those angled ends that we talked about earlier. And this is going to deliver what is called more approach angle off-road when compared to your factory bumper. Approach angle is basically your ability to approach an obstacle off-road without hitting a bumper end. So that certainly is useful if you do take your truck off-road frequently. You're also getting a pretty robust build here thanks to the plate steel construction and powder coat that will certainly take some abuse both on and off-road. Finally, guys, on the features list, the TCX does include 3-inch LED cube lighting for the sides or ends here, but you also have a larger opening right here in the middle for a single light bar or cubes to really increase your visibility at night or on the trail. Now, moving into construction, and the RedRock bumper will include this little bit of a skid plate here as well, embossed with the RedRock logo. I like that. Everything is going to incorporate a cold formed 5/32 plate steel build that will certainly be able to handle some abuse again, both on or off road. Now, that steel material has been given a 2-stage epoxy powder coat to keep that steel looking good for many years to come and to prevent any corrosion on that steel itself. Now, the bumper does include a little bit of wire mesh here in the center, along with some portions on the ends, and they do also kick in license plate brackets as well for owners that require a front plate. Now, the TCX does not include any D-ring mounts or recovery points, but they do kick in, again, those 3-inch cube lights and a harness to get everything wired up pretty easily. Finally, RedRock does give you all the brackets and everything else needed for, I would say, a pretty easy yet somewhat heavy install that we'll show you more here in a bit. Moving into price point, and the RedRock TCX will land around that low to mid $600 range, which makes this very affordable in the land of off-road bumpers, especially once you start comparing this to other options from companies like ADD, Deviate, Fab4s, and others, which can cost hundreds, if not thousands more. So if you're looking to get an off-road bumper on the front of your rig, but you don't have a ton of budget to work with, the RedRock is certainly worth a look. Last but not least, let's get into our installation portion of today's video. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Emphasis on the strong here, in a couple of hours or so to knock out from start to finish. Now, to give you a better idea of how this one might go down on your truck at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact and ratchet, 3/8 extension, 18, 17, 16, 12, 10, and 8mm socket, 18, 17, 16, 13, and 10mm wrench, zip ties, diagonal cutters, the supplied Allen wrench, and a 4mm Allen wrench. All right, today we're gonna be installing a front bumper on our Ram. First, we're gonna watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock one, then we'll come back here to install the new one.
So right off the bat here, you can see our truck is on the lift. I just wanted to say, you don't need a lift to do this. This is definitely extremely easy. We just do that to make it a little bit easier on our camera guy, make sure he can see everything and get you the information that you need to know to do this to your brand new Ram. First step though, we're gonna grab the ratchet, 8mm socket. There's 5 bolts we're going to remove in the wheel well right here. We're gonna get those out of the way, and that's going to allow us to remove a plastic wheel well liner that's connected to our front bumper. So now we have those 3 out. This piece is loose on our bumper, but it's still kind of trapped in there. So there's 2 more we're gonna remove, and that should pull right out. And you can see those are slotted, so you only need to loosen them up to be able to pull that plastic piece out of the way. Now we're gonna come over to the other side and do the same thing. So once you got the driver's side plastic removed, we can move on to the next step, and that's gonna be this master wiring harness. We gotta disconnect that, and that'll unplug all the electronics on our bumper. First thing we're gonna do is move this switch from that position right there to the open position, and that will allow us to pop open this clamp right here, like so. And then if we just keep going with that, it should push the plug apart. Now, next up, we could actually move underneath the bumper here and disconnect this thing from the frame. There's 3 18mm nuts that hold this thing on. The one that I have the wrench on right now is a little bit tough to get to with the impact gun, so ratcheting wrench it is, but the other 2 aren't so bad, so we should be able to get into those with the socket and extension to remove them, and then we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. And just like the other side, we're gonna start at the top with the ratcheting wrench, then move to the impact for the last 2. Now we're gonna remove the 2 bolts on the outside. This is the last thing holding on our bumper, so you wanna make sure you have a good handle on it before you remove these. Now this bumper is loose, so we're just gonna pull it straight back and off the truck.
All right, so first thing we need to do is a little bit of assembly on our bumper. So we have our wings that fold out. We have our bolts with lock washers and flat washers that are gonna go in our 2 holes inside here. You'll see the threaded holes on the back side. We'll get those started. Get these pretty much spun down. There's not a lot of room in here, so I'm gonna grab a 16mm ratcheting wrench and tighten these down. Now we have our 2 bolts here for our pivot point. They were just left loose so it could pivot. We're just gonna tighten those down. Our bottom one down here is going to be a 16mm head, 17mm nut. Tighten that down. And our top one, it's 17 and 17, so we'll grab a ratchet with a 17 socket and our 17 wrench. Next on this side, we just have to assemble our fog light bracket, mount that up, and then get it mounted up in our bumper. All right, so we got our fog light and our bracket. Our bracket is gonna slip in the back here like so. Now you're gonna see 2 grooves down the bottom there. You're just gonna have to carefully hold your bracket and drop the nuts in. Try to get our bolts started. Now the nuts have to sit with the flared side going towards the bracket. See, I got lucky there. Let's get our small Allen bolt threaded in. Do the same thing on the other side. Sometimes they don't sit down all the way, so you grab your slide Allen key and you get that in place. That bolt started there. We're gonna snug these up with our Allen wrench because we leave them loose for a little bit of adjustment. And now we're gonna go ahead and get this into our bumper. Now the mounting point is right here. Now you kinda gotta put the fog light in first. There we go, got that through. We're gonna take our lock washer and then our nut, thread that on. Center that to where you want that to be. And grab a 13mm wrench, go ahead and tighten that down. And you go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side for the other fog light and the bolts. So now we have to get our top plate on. Now it's gonna mount in our 3 holes, one in the center, one on either side. Now you see that the 2 outer ones are slotted, so we can get our bolts kind of in place. We have our small Allen bolt with our smaller flat washer. It's gonna go towards the head side. And on the bottom, we have our larger flat washer and then our nut. So let's get that threaded on each side, and then we can be able to slide this in. Get this on one at a time. All right, then we'll get our center bolt lined up, back a little bit, get our flat washer and nut. And we're gonna go ahead and tighten this down with a 4mm Allen wrench and a 10mm wrench to hold the nut. All right, so now we're in the engine bay. We're gonna start connecting our wiring harness. So you see we have a positive and negative with a fuse and a relay. We're just gonna hook this straight up to our battery. So we have this stud here on our positive, this stud here on our negative. So for our positive, we're gonna grab our ratchet and 12mm socket. Pop that off, pop that on. Go ahead and tighten that back up. For our negative, we're gonna switch to a 10mm socket. Go ahead and get our terminal on. And thread that back on. Go ahead and tighten that back up. Now you can mount your fuse and your relay wherever you want. You just want to make sure it doesn't vibrate around like crazy. You can actually just get kind of tucked next to the battery here. And then we have our smaller wire here, which is going to be for our button, which I just unplugged from the connector real quick. Just a simple push tab. We're going to push this through our firewall, and then we just have to run our 2 wires to our fog lights. All right, now I know this is going to be pretty difficult to see, but when you go and look on your firewall, you see this module right here. Right underneath of it, there is a cable that goes through the firewall with a nice grommet. It's already pushed through because we've had it out multiple times. We're just gonna push our connector through that grommet hole. It's pretty much the only way to get through the firewall on this truck. And we can go inside the cabin, pull our slack through, and secure our button up. Before we go into our cabin to mount our button, we're just gonna get our 2 connectors for our fog lights down. Now right next to the fuse box here, you can see straight down, see daylight. So we're just gonna send this straight down, and they will pop out right here, pretty much next to the factory harness that you unplugged. Just pull all that slack through. All right, so we have our one going to our driver's side. I'm just gonna take the other one, run it on top of our frame here, across the other side to our passenger side, and we'll secure up the extra later. All right, so now I pulled the rest of our wires through and connected our connector. Just a simple push together. Now I did tuck the extra harness behind this panel here. It tucks away nicely. Just wanna make sure it stays away from the pedal of anything moving. You can mount this wherever you want. I'm just gonna take the double side backing off. I'm just gonna stick this right under our pedal adjustment, which sits nicely there. If you need to, you can move it to gain access to this cover there, but like I said, it's personal preference. Now we have to get our bumper brackets on. Our brackets are gonna go on like so, mount on our factory frame. The brackets for the actual bumper will be facing inward. So we're gonna grab 3 of our larger bolts with our larger flat washers. Get that through. We're gonna have another washer, lock washer, and then nut on the back side. Get that all snugged up. Now you will see there is a lot of adjustment. So you may need to come back after you get everything mounted up, loosen these up, and move them around just to get the proper fitment. But it's all 18mm hardware, so we're gonna take our impact extension 18mm socket and 18mm wrench and tighten these down. All right, now you can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. All right, so now before we get our bumper on, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go grab a buddy to help us get this on, get this in place. So when the bumper goes on, we're gonna have our smaller bolts with our flat washers. It's actually gonna go through the bumper first, then through the bracket, and then on the back side, we're gonna have another flat washer, lock washer, and nut. We'll get all 3 of these threaded in, and then go ahead and get everything adjusted and tightened down. Thank you, sir. All right, now on the back side of the bumper, we're gonna get it tightened down. As you see, I have one tightened down. I pretty much just had to push this all the way up and it's pretty much adjusted perfectly. So we're gonna get this tightened down. The other two, grab our ratchet, 16mm socket, and a 16mm wrench. Right, now that those are tight, we just have our harness to deal with on this side. So if you want, just bunch up the extra, secure it across the top if you want. And then we're gonna plug it in. So we'll bunch up, put a zip tie on. And just find a good place to secure it up to. Just make sure it's out of the way, especially at this air dam that moves. So there's a nice spot on the frame. If you want to compare diagonal cutters, just cut off that extra. And then you can go ahead and do the same thing on the other side with the harness and fog light and the other 3 bolts. So the last thing we need to do is put our skid plate on. So you see 4 nut certs that are already mounted in our bumper. We'll grab 4 of our supplied Allen bolts with lock washers and flat washers. Just gonna thread those in. Get all those started, grab our supplied Allen wrench and go ahead and tighten those down. All right, and then just tighten these all up. All right, and you're all set to go. And that wraps up our install of our RedRock TCX HD Front Bumper for our 2019 to 24 Ram 1500, excluding the Rebel and TRX. And remember, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.